pages. I think it was kind of long, longer than most. My sweet spot is like 300 to 350 pages, and this felt a lot longer than that. But I have to talk about this book because it just resonated. The writing was so good. It's called Long Bright River. Oops. When I downloaded this book, I knew I downloaded a few, and then when I opened my Kindle, I was like, what's Long Bright River? That doesn't sound good. That sounds like something about nature. It's not. Thank God I picked it up and started reading this first out of my little batch that I got. It is by Liz Moore. Liz Moore. She does have some other books too, so I might check them out, but I'll read you the synopsis here. Two sisters travel the same streets, though their lives couldn't be more different. Then one of them goes missing. In a Philadelphia neighborhood rocked by the opioid crisis, two once inseparable sisters find themselves at odds. One, Casey, lives on the streets in the vice of addiction. The other, Mickey, walks those same blocks on her police beat. They don't speak anymore, but Mickey never stops worrying about her sibling. Then Casey disappears suddenly at the same time that a mysterious string of murders begins in Mickey's district. And Mickey becomes dangerously obsessed with finding the culprit and her sister before it's too late. Alternating is present-day mystery with the story of the sisters' childhood and adolescence. Long Bright River is at once heart-pounding and heart-wrenching, a gripping suspense novel that is also a moving story of sisters' addiction and formidable ties that persist between place, family, and fate. Like, this book ticked off all my boxes. Addiction fiction, thriller, suspense, murder, serial killer. But the writing and the way that the author put feelings that I've had into words that I never could have. I love when an author does that. And since I don't read a lot of like heartfelt stuff, I don't come across it that often. There's a few writers that can do that with a thriller, suspense, and horror, and she's one of them. I'll just read like one of the top reviews. Let me see. It doesn't say there's spoilers, but I'm just gonna put it out there that there might be spoilers because I don't know what I'm gonna say, and I don't know what these reviews are gonna say. Long Bright River is a book that I almost passed on, thinking that I didn't want the responsibility of reviewing it. The author has a fiercely loyal fan base. And literary fiction is a genre that is risky for me to dabble in at best. After circling the book's Goodread page for months, the synopsis had a relentless grip on me, and something checked in my spirit telling me I needed to read this book. Perhaps it was the emotional investment in the opioid crisis due to multiple extended family members struggling and succumbing to their addiction, or it could have been the promise of a procedural suspense in the portrayed investigation. But either way, I'm grateful to have listened to that inner voice, and even more grateful to the author for tackling such a weighty subject with tenderness and grace. I knew she was dead before I reached her. Her prose was familiar to me after a child had spent sleeping next to her in the same bed, but that day there was a different kind of limpness to her body, and her limbs looked too heavy the struggle in pushing back drug-related criminal activity is an ongoing battle. As we follow Mickey, a police officer assigned to this particular area, we see things from the viewpoint of a long-term inhabitant who also has an emotional investment in fighting the crisis. Mickey's sister, Casey, is in the grip of her addiction and regularly disappears for weeks on end before turning back up, causing Mickey extreme anxiety and constant concern that her sister will be the next body she discovers. The story unfolds in two ways. We have flashbacks that give insight to the sister's upbringing, an absent father, a mother who passed away and leaves the young girls to be raised by their grandmother. Their grandmother. And the present-day investigation into the mysterious string of murders that coincide with Casey's latest disappearance. I'll be honest, folks, this is an uncomfortable read. Emotions run deep as the author describes a pair of girls who, for their entire lives, have had to claw their way out of the drain before they drown. These characters are so visceral, and I just want to reach inside the pages, hold Mickey, and tell her that she wasn't alone and she would be okay. The people we meet during our stay in Kensington are all carrying inner demons that many people can relate to. Whether you have been an addict or love someone who was, you'll find a character here who seems familiar. For a book that is nearly 500 pages long, it is extremely fast-paced with gritty, uneasy narrative, an uncomfortable read for sure, but an important and timely one. Please add this to your TBR if you enjoy dark, serious novels filled with emotional depth and suspense. I see now why Liz Moore has a passionate following, and I'm thrilled to add myself to the club. So, yeah, she said it. Let's see what the reviews. It's got a 4.06 out of 5 on Goodreads. I would probably give this book like almost a 5, and I don't do that very often. And then let's see on some of the praise, which I don't really take the praise too seriously because I don't know how praise from other authors works. Is it like a favor? I heard it's like favors you do for publishing companies is praise other books, so it feels, I don't know how serious to take it, but this one has an instant sensation and the January pick for Good Morning America's book club. Navigates assuredly between plot twists and big reveals. Long Bright River is equal parts literary and thrilling. Yes, that's from the Oprah magazine. Moore's careful balance of the hard bitten with heartfelt is what elevates Long Bright River from entertaining page turner to a book that makes you want to call someone you love. Long Bright River, that was New York Times. Long Bright River, a book that has garnered much pre-publication buzz, nervously twists and turns and subverts readers' expectations until the very last pages. Simultaneously, it also manages to grow into something else, a sweeping, elegiac, I don't know how to say that word, sorry, novel about a blighted city. The Washington Post. I usually go to bed. I usually get into bed around 8, 8:30, 9 at the latest, and fall asleep around 10. With this book, I was up, like I really can only read at night because of the baby. This book, I was up until 11:30 some nights. That for me is insane. I can't recommend this book enough. What's crazy is I started watching Dopesick on Hulu too. And I was watching it last night. I watched, I think, almost all of it while I was reading. And it was about the opioid. Well, I read the book to Dopesick. I read the book years ago. It has to have been at least like 6 years ago. Did I read it or listen to it? I think I listened to it on audio. And it was about when OxyContin came out, and they were pushing it as pushing this serious opioid, saying that there's only a 1% chance of addiction. And then when they were saying, oh, breakthrough pain, so they say, give your patient this much, 20 milligrams, 40 milligrams. If your client comes back to you and says that they're having breakthrough pain, as in, if the medication's supposed to last 12 hours and they're having pain 10 hours in, then you need to double their dose. That there should be no breakthrough pain. So they were doubling the doses and then tripling the doses, and just like candy, and then when some of their patients were complaining of addiction, right? Because they're like, I feel addicted. They would have their drug reps come in, and they had like conferences and said it's not real addiction. What it is pseudo addiction. They coined the term. I think they coined the term. I don't know if the term existed before that, but they applied the term pseudo addiction to these opiates, these strong opiates. So then they would go back. The drug reps would tell the doctors to tell their patients that it's not addiction, it's pseudo addiction. Not just that, but if they feel addicted, this is so crazy. If they feel addicted, it's because they need more. So then they would give them more. It is just crazy. The show is called Dopesick on Hulu, and it's also a book. So if you feel like researching any of that, as long as it doesn't trigger you, it's just a rabbit hole worth looking into. They did finally sue. I don't want to, don't take my word for this, but I think they did finally sue the companies that were doing this. But I remember something about the way they got sued. They had so much time to protect their interests that it really didn't affect them as much as it should have. But I don't know, I just wanted to talk about this book. Sorry for all the background noise. It's just, I don't get much time to film.